What's going on, everybody? Hope you're all having a fantastic day today. Now, ladies and gentlemen, at first, I wasn't going to go ahead and discuss this topic in today's video, or honestly, any video. It's just going to kind of lay low on it, but as time goes on, and as I see more leaks and footage, and obviously things are getting data mined, the biggest topic under everything, literally everything, is the movement is way too wild. And is getting to a point where I am kind of getting concerned, because it really does seem that DICE could do anything horrible to this community. I mean, they could take away the class system, and we would still be more so hyper-focused on movement. So I have to go ahead and talk about this topic here, because this is a topic that has been spread across so many different games. Every game I've possibly played, I've seen the same type of complaints again and again and again. And I have to put my foot down here because it's getting kind of irritating seeing it over and over. And we have to try to come to an understanding on what Battlefield actually is. But ladies and gentlemen, before we go and dive deep, if you guys are interested in more content just like this, don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell. We post daily here at 8 morning Eastern time. And of course, if you guys are interested in any of my live streams, I stream Monday through Saturday over on Twitch, starting between 12 to 1 p.m. Eastern time. Of course, if you guys are interested, gonna link that channel down in the description of this video. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, like I was saying, the Battlefield community right now is pretty torn when you go on social media and try to look up anything revolving this game. And it's mostly between the movement, whether it's the sliding animation people are seeing, whether someone b-hops one singular time, or even when it comes to vaulting, climbing, it doesn't matter. If there's any type of quote-unquote movement that isn't just you standing completely still, for some reason people get absolutely irritated, and they don't want that whatsoever. It's very awkward. It's even to the point where I saw footage of an individual who might have hopped. It was like a minute, maybe a minute and a half long footage. This individual hopped, jumped, maybe two times, that's it, and maybe slid once. And almost every single comment was, "This is so annoying. Oh, the ADHD movement is back. Sliding is so insane. That's all I see in this, this gameplay." I even saw another comment saying, "Jump hop, jump hop, jump hop, jump slide, jump slide, jump slide, jump hop." It's like, the dude hopped twice. What is everybody talking about? People are over obsessing this nature of, movement within games. And you know what the funniest part about this is? When you actually deep dive into people saying that they want a comparison to Battlefield 4 or 3, the funniest part about it is that they always say that they never saw the movement in those games. Now, for those who don't know, Battlefield 3 and 4 had crazy movement tech, and it's hilarious to me personally because a lot of the people who are claiming they want Battlefield 3 or Battlefield 4 movement are saying that current gen Battlefield is pushing way too much to be like Call of Duty, which is the most hilarious statement because Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4 had way more movement tech than any of the OG classic Call of Duty games that came out during the same time period. The amount of stuff that you can do in Battlefield 4, for example, that could help you abuse movement in that game compared to the drop shot or jump shot in Call of Duty, it's not logical. And again, anybody who is telling you this, honestly, I don't want to be mean or anything like that, but they genuinely don't know what they're talking about. Any Battlefield game that takes advantage of even the slightest bit of movement doesn't mean it's trying to be like COD. Like I said, the OG Battlefield games had more movement tech than any of the OG Call of Duty classics. So it's not logical. It's never tried to be like Call of Duty. This is just what Battlefield is. And back to the, the statement that I was making before I rambled off on this, comparison rant here. Everybody's saying, well, Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4, everybody's claiming the movement was insane, which it was, but I never saw it. And that is the best point I think I could ever hear right now, because it literally contradicts every point that they're trying to make. They're claiming that this movement is abusive, but they never see it. So that means it's only a very small percentage of players who really go out of their way to manage to learn all of this movement tech. And at the end of the day, 95% of your lobbies, you're not even going to see it. It's not even going to offend you, bother you, any of the above. I mean, Battlefield 5 is another good example. A lot of people that I see keep complaining about the new slide mechanic in this new Battlefield game. In the same breath, say that they want the movement of a game like Battlefield 5. Guys, Battlefield 5 was one of the smoothest movements I've seen in a long time in Battlefield, without obviously having to have exploits like you could back in the day. But the movement in that game, I genuinely don't know where people are coming from. The sliding in that game was freaking insane, to the point where they literally had to nerf the slide with how much you could spam it and fly across the map. And even after the nerf, you could still make it from point A, point B, pretty much a booty sliding from one point to the other, keeping all your momentum like nothing has ever happened. But in the new Battlefield game, I don't see that. I see people trying to take advantage of the slide, but it's not actually building up momentum. In the new Battlefield game, to me personally, it looks like the slide is going to be used as it should be used, as a maneuver to be able to get into cover, get out of fire, or maybe you might even be able to slide into a building to catch someone off guard, but it doesn't seem like it's going to be like anything what we had before. Like I said, Battlefield 4 hopping around the corners with the momentum that you could build, air strafing, Battlefield 5 slide canceling. None of that stuff. It looks a lot more toned back. Same thing with the jump shot. It doesn't look like it's over the top, like in Battlefield 2042, where you can slide and then chain like 3, 4, 5 hops together, while also engaging with an enemy, and your reticle has no problems whatsoever with staying on target. It doesn't look like that. It looks like a simple B-hop. But again, everybody is going over the top saying that it's too much. And then in the same exact breath, preaching that they wanted to go back to Battlefield 5 movement or Battlefield 4 movement, when this new movement literally looks slower than almost all of them. I don't know if the Battlefield community really knows what these games were capable of. Battlefield, at the end of the day, is an arcade shooter, ladies and gentlemen. That's what it is, okay? So to want it to be extraordinarily slowed down, no movement, no anything, is mind-boggling because it's been there since the beginning of time. I feel like a lot of people are literally trying to turn Battlefield into a Milsim, and I gotta say, if you want a Milsim, there's plenty, that you could play. On console, you have Hell Let Loose. Also, Arma went ahead and launched on console. If you want to go ahead and play Squad, you could do that on PC. Insurgency Sandstorm is a good game as well, which is also on console. There are so many games out there that will give you the vibes that you are looking for. But Battlefield was literally never that. I mean, you have people turning up at the Battlefield 2042 trailer when they showcase someone flying up with the jet, hopping out, slapping someone with a rocket, all of these things. That's not realistic whatsoever. How are people saying that they don't want any, style of movement whatsoever, but in the same breath, they still want all the crazy, only in Battlefield, moments. So they want extraordinarily realistic movement, but in the same breath, they want extraordinarily unrealistic gameplay. Guys, we have to understand, like I said before, Battlefield is an arcade shooter, okay? It just simply is. It's not a Milsim, and it never has been a Milsim. And don't get me wrong, ladies and gentlemen, I'm right there with you guys for those who don't really care for the over-the-top movement. I'm right there too, I don't need anything insane. I mostly just stick on the ground and use strafing to kind of, engage with enemies. I don't need anything over the top with 50,000 B-ops or, chaining in the slides and stuff like that. I'll use it if it's going to be in the game. But it's not going to offend me if it's not in an abusive, state. But I still believe that there should be something. Like I said, a lot of the people who make complaints just want to see people standing still. That's kind of what I'm coming to a conclusion on. People don't want enemies to move away from their reticle, and they don't want to have to learn or practice how to track an opponent. I'll be real. If someone is jumping, it's one of the most basic things to track. If they're on the ground strafing left, right, that's harder. But for some reason, people hate the jump shot so much. Yet and still, it's one of the easiest things to counter because the enemy can't go anywhere. Now, yeah, I could see where it can become a bit, rough if you're in a building and they jump, the corner and you have to, readjust your crosshair or something like that. But in the open, I mean, come on now, guys. Like I said, if they were grounded, strafing left, right, and you had to guess their strafing pattern, that's where it becomes complex. But like in games, like for example, Halo, for example, when someone jumps up into the air, that's one of the easiest things to track. They can't go anywhere else. They already committed to a jump, and now all you got to do is track the exact pattern of what that jump is going to look like. As long as it's not over the top, like I said, 2042 spammy jumping, where you can jump 5 different times, it might not be too crazy. And from what I see in the gameplay, it looks very simplistic. A single jump that doesn't even keep that much momentum. To me personally, it looks like it's going to be something that's going to be fun for more experienced players to be able to take advantage of, while at the same time, casuals or people who don't want to learn movement can still dabble and enjoy the game without it being too abusive here. I think the biggest problem that this community is running into is that nobody wants to try to find a middle ground for both communities. And that's usually the debate when it comes to any game I've ever covered when it comes to movement. X-Defiant, Splitgate, Call of Duty, Battlefield, Rainbow Six Siege, any game you could possibly think of. This debate has been going on since the beginning of time, but usually it's two sides. People who are overly pro-movement, who don't care about any of the casuals and want the game to have the most intense skill gaps, and the casuals who want literally zero movement, no skill gap, no learning curve, and basically just, be able to hold, angles and gun people down. There has to be a middle ground, ladies and gentlemen. That is what Battlefield has always been about. Being able to find ways for movement to be in the game, for a slight skill gap to be in place for skilled players to be able to learn something, while still maintaining a casual flow for the casual players to enjoy themselves. Hence why the majority of the players who say, oh, Battlefield 4 didn't have insane movement, that's exactly why. Again, there was a skill gap that allowed the top tier players to still be able to, learn something, but it wasn't so overwhelming that you saw every single person in the lobby being able to do it, right? That is the perfect point in my personal opinion. But I think we just have to come to the realization, guys, that Battlefield is not going to take those steps. It's just simply not. No matter how hard people are trying to fight for them to remove all movement in this game, it's not going to happen. And the best thing that I can hope for you guys to do is to start actually giving good constructive criticism instead of just crapping on it all the time. Again, we have to find a middle ground. We need to find a way that we can please both the casual audience while also pleasing the more competitive players. And it can be found. And in my personal opinion, after seeing the gameplay, I think we did find it. We have movement that looks like it's going to be fun to play with, but at the same time, not going to be abusive. Again, until we get hands-on and play it, I don't think that we could really judge it. But after going through every single social media platform, Twitter, Reddit, and seeing all these comments about movement and all these posts about how it's horrible in the new Battlefield and how it's going to be ruined, and I had to put this together because I think people are over-exaggerating and they don't understand what, real abusive movement really looks like. What we have in the new Battlefield game is nowhere close to the abusive crap that we had back in the day. And honestly, I personally think we are taking a step in the right direction here when it comes to the overall Battlefield franchise. But ladies and gentlemen, as always, if you enjoyed today's video, leave a like. If you hate it, leave a dislike. Don't forget subscribing at that bell. I post daily here at 8 and 1 Eastern time. And of course, if you guys are interested in my live streams, I stream Monday through Saturday over on Twitch, starting between 12 to 1 p.m. Eastern time. Of course, if you guys are interested, I got a link to that channel down in the description of this video. But as always, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace out.